Welcome to Vlog Thursday number 393. And yeah, I wanted to try something different. Matt's been on the back end modifying StreamYard, which is the tool for this. So I shrunk myself into a little over window. I like the little chaos and everything that's kind of behind here. We've been playing with a lot of these things. Me and Matt have a lot of ideas. He does all this fun artwork. I don't know which one I like best, so maybe we'll vote on it. This kind of, I love all the styling that's going on there. We're leveling things up a little bit here on Lawrence Systems. But as always, or not always, as more recently, and something I plan to continue to do, is have an agenda. That agenda starts with where and when you can find Tom. So CompTIA ChannelCon Atlanta, and that's going to be on July 30th through August 1st of 2024. GurCon, be there. Met some more people last night that are also going to be at GurCon. So it's exciting to start talking about it and everything else. And that's coming up right up here in September 26th and 27th of 2024. Wild West Hacking Fest, October 9th of 2024 in Deadwood, South Dakota. And then IT Nation Connect, that will be November 6th and 8th of 2024. So plenty of fun things going on that you can find me at. And yeah, there's a little update of where you can find me. I also want to give a shout out here in the beginning that I will be doing. Let me switch to that particular banner. I've clicked on too many buttons. I'm going to scroll up now. Discord. I have been slowly getting more active in the Discord. I certainly am responsive when people tag me. And by the way, feel free to tag me if you have a question. I don't mind even DMs on Discord. I get a lot of nice things that, in conversations I have with people. One person did reach out for tech support and I gave them a couple answers, but did suggested that they join the forum. So I'm never rude about it. I'm like, yeah, they had a lot of questions about DNS and they were good questions that would be wonderful to ask in the forum. So I did push people towards there, but also I'm going to be doing a secondary live stream. And this might be a new pattern as I kind of try these new ideas where I do this live stream and then I'm gonna do a follow-up live stream inside the forum. So I'll run this one for an hour and I don't know how long to do. I'm not forums, but the Discord. I will, go ahead and join there and other people can join me. And there's a link here. It's pretty easy to get there. Lawrence.video/Discord if you want to join my server. I'll put that actually as a link. There we go. For the invites, I'll throw it in here real quick. Awesome. There we go. Now we have everything you need. If you're interested in joining that later, I want to do, and me and actually Jason Slagle want to both do this. We want to do some more hands-on with the audience when we can and answer some questions and talk about ideas or questions people have. And, some of those nuanced things, like you may have watched a video or you may have some issue that you're struggling with. And there's a lot of little, those little details matter. And sometimes having someone to ask of why is the MTU set that way? Because I think I solved someone's problem in my forum today. I think based on some of the information I gave that they might be having a problem with MTU. And I realized I haven't done a good WireGuard video and why things like that matter. And it's a little nuance in there. That's, the things you learn over the years of setting things up. Also, we had a good conversation today with internal conversation with our team today. We were talking about solution design and storage design and some other things that I probably should make a video on to cover some of those details about how you deploy solutions, how we commercially deploy solutions. And it might be, definitely some more content coming out of it. So that's definitely going to be fun. Let's see here. I'm playing around with Cloud Panel and Lawrence Vlog will be a perfect addition. Interesting. I don't think I've used Cloud Panel. I need some water. Roll on the next version of TrueNAS scale. I want my Docker containers. I'm deeply hopeful it'll be less than, I might play with them a little bit more and do a video to show what you can do. They have some instructions on how to use, I believe they call it their Jailmaker. There's some beta features you can play with. So for those that are interested, you can find these. They're in the TrueNAS scale. I believe they're posted on our GitHub. There's even someone who's made linked into their GitHub, a tutorial on how to get some of it going. I'm always careful about how much time I put into, or time is finite. So I have to focus my time. So I'm careful before I put in a bunch of time to create a video on how to work a beta product that will actually have a nice UI on it by the time it comes to release. So as it gets closer to release and as it becomes more feature stable, even if it's buggy, but will look this way once we've, some of the looks are determined. Maybe I'll do it. And of course, I always encourage, once it at least gets to like a beta series, and maybe I'll test it a beta series with this one. Some people may want to wait till release candidate, and some people, of course, wait till it's fully released. But once I might play around and switch at least one of my systems that I have to that train so I can dive into a little more and start, I like to try and practice it out because I'll open tickets myself if I find any bugs on it. So definitely pretty neat stuff. Coming from the folks over at TrueNAS. On pfSense, I have 2 LAN interfaces and want to have my VLANs on both. I would have to have both interfaces in a bridge. I don't know why you want to do that. I mean, you could bridge them. You could create a lag interface as well. So there's 2 different ways to do it. Think about why you want it first. That's probably the better question. Is think about what a lot of times, I mean, I can tell you how to do something, but it's a frequent thing I do in the forums, and that's a good post in the forums of why you may or may not want to do that. So yes, you can build bridges, which means pfSense individual discrete ports will start acting like switch ports, but that may not be what you want. And there's a lot of write-ups in the forums of problems that can come with that. So think about what your use cases are first and what you're trying to accomplish. Then people can guide you towards that best solution. Discord is an odd duck. You're not wrong at all. Great for chatting, horrible for maintaining a history of solved problems and creating accumulated knowledge base. Yes, by the way, when people are looking for something more than conversation, I push them to forums. My forums are publicly available. I host those forums. Now, there is a double-edged sword, I'll completely admit here, that comes from hosting the forums. They're obviously, to some extent, relying on the existence of Lawrence Systems and me to maintain them. So that is one risk that does come, of course, with the forums. But the upside is they're publicly available, and the risk seems to be much higher with these large forums who do things like build forums and maybe put them behind a paywall later. They build them up first as a free service and figure out how to monetize them heavily later. I mean, I'm paying for the forums out of my pocket. We are looking for some sponsored ads that will go on there where they're really simple. Like, we are not embedding an ad network. One, that's easy to do, but 2, I don't think it's good to the audience. So that is probably in the future how we'll be monetizing a little bit, just cover the cost. Because as the forums get bigger, there is a bigger cost associated with some of the back end and hosting it. I think I still get, like, if it's every week, almost 40,000 or 50,000 unique viewers, or it might be higher. I gotta look. I maybe, sometime during this live stream, if I'm pinged about it again, I will pull the stats. I think I still have a script that grabs them and compiles them, and we can display them here. But yeah, definitely, I'm not moving to Discord for my forums, and I don't encourage anyone to do that. I was planning on getting a Gateway Max since it has 2.5 gig ports. Just self-hosting the controller. Glad I waited to the Cloud Connect Gateway Max. It's literally everything I wanted. Yeah, that's a great question and good statement. I was just going to be covering that pretty soon with some of the UniFi updates. So UniFi released the new software 8.3. They made some new NAT changes. So they've definitely improved the firewall greatly. And of course, releasing this model here. Where was that site? We'll pull this up real quick. Share the screen. Too many clicks. I didn't have it ready. But UniFi has this tech specs site, which is kind of cool because it'll let you do things like do some comparisons here between their different devices. So yeah, the more they add to this and more they make it easier for you to kind of make your choices, it's awesome. I do have some upcoming reviews of that as well. But like I said earlier, I'm really happy the fact that UniFi has stepped up their game quite a bit in terms of their firewall and things like that. On in the background, I'm doing a migration from hell. Yeah, that sounds fun, Mike. Looking forward to the Netgate review. Yes, I do. In the picture is a Netgate 8200. So that is a review that is coming. And Corey says, I'm happy to see KVM machines coming now in TrueNAS. Yeah, that's since they're on scale, they're not. I mean, Beehive is what they were using in the core system, and now in scale, they're using KVM. So yeah, that's definitely great.
Discord was originally built in 2015 to help gamers communication with each other while playing video games online. Yeah, that is very true, Matt. That it's it's very game centric, but I kind of like it for its chat features, if you will. The UI has gotten better, I think, over time, or I've gotten better at it. I'm not sure which. Shane says, I'm using pfSense and TrueNAS because you do use Proxmox. Love the content. I sometimes use Proxmox. It's not my go-to. I keep it running, so I'm familiar with it and updating it. I don't have any workloads really on it. I kind of do random things with it sometimes, kind of to see how it goes. Currently, I know we have a few of them running at the office that are doing some of our internal workload stuff just for testing. We're testing Proxmox, even though the workloads might be somewhat real, but it seems to work fine. We generally think XTNG for the business market's better, but I can understand the argument for people preferring Proxmox in the home lab market, which is perfectly fine. And there's not any reason I can tell you not to use it. But both are good products. Oh, the days of ICQ, as Matt brings up. Yes, give me your ICQ and we'll have this discussion later. I do. ICQ was great. It finally shut down this year, if you can't believe that. Its final end of life was right here in 2024, which is wild. And the next question is, for a small business with around 13 office employees, does UniFi Firewall suffice or pfSense better? Well, here's the thing. If you take a office that does not need, and the VPN's actually gotten way better. So VPN is greatly improved from where it was last time I've been asked this question. So the answer is going to change though. In a lot of small offices don't even need VPN because maybe they don't even have any servers. They don't have any on-prem stuff, especially companies that are smaller frequently operate 100% with line of business applications and everything in some type of cloud service. It's probably perfectly fine. There's a lot of businesses that use it and they work well. I mean, the UniFi firewalls, one, they're improving all the time. But even at their current iteration, where we are, not in beta, what is available today, they're a pretty reliable, solid product. They have dramatically improved from what they used to be. I would say, I would stay compared to like if you found a video for me even a year ago, where I was always on the fence and definitely not even on the fence, just saying their firewalls are not great. Where they're at today when you buy a UniFi firewall is substantially better. Mike says, I've been out of the loop for a while. Was the pfSense to Linux deemed an April Fool in the end? I think it's one of those things like, could it be done? The answer is yes. You could technically rebuild it. Whether or not they'll do it, I'm feeling they were testing the water, and there's no better time to test the water for a product idea that if everyone flamed you for, you would say, I'll just release it on April 1st. And if the world hates it, I could also walk that back really easy, going, ha ha ha, we weren't really serious about that. Mm. Mike says, I run a physical pfSense as I prefer that, but I also can't be doing with NDI challenges and virtual setup and tinkering. UniFi VPN doesn't have AES or other. I don't. This is a fuzzy part that I want to do some clarification on at some point. Where the UniFi firewalls, they don't list currently. Now, hopefully, UniFi does a listing of how fast your VPN is. That is something people need to know. And it seems to be, last I checked, that is omitted from them. I think they do have chips in there that have some acceleration for VPN, but I'm not clear. It's not, I don't believe it's anywhere in their documentation. The way we could figure that out was probably I'll SSH in and start poking away at it and seeing how it works and digging around in it. But I kind of wish that was a technical detail that they did have. And I wish we knew how fast it was, because more important than a technical detail of how it's done is how fast is it? Like, what speed can we expect with iPerf versus iMix traffic? So your single stream traffic should be X and your iMix traffic should be Y. So we have a speed comparison. So we have some idea of the performance of the VPN. GP Eagles and Cats says, I just joined. What do you think of the Cloud Gateway Max? I don't have. I'll get a review out of it later. I don't review everything right away when it comes in. Sometimes because we're buying stuff, or I wait till it's deployed in the field. So I usually take a little bit more time for my reviews and don't necessarily release them on certain days. There are some of them that I have been testing. I did agree and made some agreements with UniFi to do videos on certain things that do have like release dates. I've actually engaged a lot more with them. This is one of the things that makes me very hopeful is UniFi was kind of opaque before, and now I've engaged with them quite a bit more in terms of design ideas and things like that. They've actually been really listening to the community. Me as part of the community, I've had conversations with them about like what they're doing, and I've got some sneak peeks of some of the roadmap, and it looks really good. It's like they're putting some really solid effort at things. So I think it's great. That's what you want out of a company is going, hey, I mean, I don't know how much roadmaps are hard, coding features are hard, but I've been doing this for a little while and seeing the features that are now available that are out. Yeah, they've really been keeping up with it, which is great. Oh, let's see, what other questions do we have? Yeah, as Mike says, Tom was on the naughty step for a little while. Um, I know they didn't like some of my reviews, and they decided they weren't going to send me things. But by the way, whether they send me something or not, I just buy some of the UniFi stuff, and I don't care. I mean, the the company that I'm part of and own, CNWR, we move a lot of product, and some of that product we move is UniFi. So I'm buying it myself. There's no bias involved, and I'll say whatever I want. I don't let companies give me agreements that don't give me the ability to say things I want to say about them. I wouldn't sign. You know what I mean? Like I don't like companies that try to like, here's a product and a non-disparagement clause in case you don't like the product. Doesn't work that way for me. Matter of fact, there's a company that there's no agreement for, by the way. This is unrelated to UniFi. There's another company that sent me a product that I'm going to have some commentary on. I said yes to it because I thought it was novel. It's one of those triple screen mounts for your monitor. The thing is, I'm going to do a comparison video, and that's not, I think, what they wanted or had in mind. But we actually paid for and bought some of these for other employees, or at least one other employee. So I'm going to review it based on the other devices that I have, so I can actually do a comparison. Um, yeah, I always want to be honest with any of the reviews I do, and if that means I have to buy things myself, then so be it. Let's see. Corey Thompson says even microtick, microtick is how I believe it is said, but we can argue about that in the comments later. List performance for switching, bridging, routing, and VPN IPsec on their website for each product. Too bad Ubiquiti can't do that. Exactly. It's a really good point, Corey. I can't see why they um, don't do that. Mike says Alta Labs said they had a controller coming, but surely too late to the crowd. Not really. They're playing the long game at Alta Labs. There are boxes that say Alta Labs next to me. I wonder what's in those. You'll find out when I get around to doing a video. I actually do talk to the people from Alta Labs. I think their product base is coming. They everything I can gather from talking to them, they seem invested in the long term. So I hold out hope that Alta Labs are good. I do want to set up an Alta Labs Wi-Fi network. So there's definitely the interest I have in the product. The things I'm so confused by, and I'll talk about at some point later, is they I don't know how they plan to distribute the controller, and that matters a lot. I want them just to follow, like they're copying a lot of things about Ubiquiti, and why not just carry on with that? Like copy the way they give away their controller. I hope they do that. That's me hoping, but yeah, I'll actually have some reviews probably coming. So I've been using their switches. I have a few of them. I have one. I'm gesturing back towards my lab area. I'm actually been actively using a couple of them. I even have one of their switches that I have several UniFis plugged into because I need to put another UniFi switch in. I didn't have one, so I just grabbed one of the Alta Labs ones. I'm like, oh, this will work, and it's actually worked out really well. Telus says, I'm trying out XTPNG stable latest. Should I have templates? Should I have templates for Windows 11 and Ubuntu, or is this something coming? The templates are gonna 8.3 is in release candidate, so that's where you're gonna find your templates in version 8.3 of XTPNG. But that's in release candidate right now, and if you're using it at home, run 8.3 release candidate. I don't see any reason not to. I've been running the 8.3 for a while. It's rock solid. I've had no issues at all. So the just that has the BTPM creator in that version. So go ahead and use that. Mike asks, does CNWR use Meraki, or are we a Meraki house? Yes, we use Meraki and UniFi. Those are we support other stuff. I think we probably have some Aruba clients floating around, but like if you asked us not to service an existing, but what we would install, Meraki or UniFi are going to be top of the list for what we would normally pick to install for something. Like if you say, hey, we need Wi-Fi, that's the request, and our fulfillment would be we look at Meraki and we look at your use case and we decide Meraki or UniFi. Dean says, I just installed UDM Pro and a standard 24 port G5 Turret Ultra for my parents. Auto update and ease of use was a big seller. Huge seller. The auto update. I'm actually going to be putting new Wi-Fi in at my daughter's house, and maybe I'll see if she's around this weekend. I got to message her to come over and do that, because I'm actually going to I'll make a little video about upgrading the Wi-Fi to UniFi. She has UniFi now, but I want to give her. She's got one of the original pill bottle ones, which I'm happy that it works. I can't remember which one that's called. Was called the UDM? I forget the model name. Anyways, the pill bottle ones. It works great. So the Wi-Fi at her house is like getting a little old. DPC Technology says you can be on the naughty step if you care, even if you have an agreement. You can simply not put out the video if you don't like the product. It's pretty simple. Yeah. Mike says, I'm sure some of these companies like Alta Labs, for example, get so far off the ground and then try to get purchased. I don't know what that's their exit. They seem to be dedicated to making a good product. I mean, I don't really know what their intention is, build it and sell it. I know that's certainly how a lot of companies do. They just want to get something out there enough, create enough marketing buzz about their product and get consumed by a bigger company and have a great payday. I don't know. I'm not involved that deeply with the company. I talk to the engineering people. They all seem really nice, and I think they seem dedicated to making a product, but hey, well, I have no idea. I can't make financial comments because not my bailiwick over there. Any comment on a Netgate 38 or 8300? I like it. It's well made. I will have a review coming soon. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's got a lot of fans in it, and it's got just a nice industrial design. So I don't really have any other opinions on it right now. It's definitely one of their more flagship products. So. Any initial in the UniFi gate kit? No real thoughts on that one right now. I'm still running, because this is the one I'm taking over to my daughter, because I have more UniFi stuff on the way. So let me find the other one. Am I not logged in anymore? There we go. We pull up the site manager, make sure there's nothing in there. So I do have this one set up right here. I've been testing this one a lot. This one is going to just end up at my daughter's, which is the UniFi Express one. This is a nice little box. I did a review on this one, but I'll probably review the other one as well. And as I pointed out, even in this one, I bought this. They didn't send me this. I just went out and bought it because it was something I wanted to review. But all the little devices that I've been buying from UniFi have worked out really well. I haven't had any complaints about them at all. They just UniFi's been pretty solid on all these. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Brett says, I've seen the official MikroTik videos and they pronounce it like you say, MikroTik. Yes, oddly, I know several Latvian people and I've had discussions about it. It's been kind of fun. There's the way you may pronounce things in your language and the way you may have other people pronounce it because it's easier. It's always interesting to me because I only speak a verbal language. I mean, I know several computer languages, but the language I speak is English, and I don't always do it that great. I'm always fascinated when I have friends that speak like 9 languages, and there's all these variations about way you pronounce things and discussions. It's not as plain and simple, so to speak, especially because of the nuance of the pronunciation having different meanings. And yeah, so we'll say it how we say it. We know what we're talking about, or we know what we're debating about here. So let's see. How would you calculate a UPS battery runtime for a new office setup? Well, you're in luck. One, I have a whole video where I talk with an engineer about UPSs. It's one of the only UPS videos I've done. Two, you measure wattage, and there's calculators for wattage versus how the capacity of the UPS. I mean, I believe it's probably on a lot of the UPS sites. So you have to figure out like how many watts your system's going to pull and go from there. And that is not easy. Generally, just skew really heavy to longer run times. Whatever the budget will allow is almost like the better runtime. Push it really far over on that is how I would describe it. If you can get a budget out of them, because you're going to get more longevity out of it. I mean, not being ridiculous, we don't need it to run. Well, I mean, maybe you do need it to run for a day, but honestly, there's not enough, especially more modern servers pull less wattage. So even that same UPS from before, in terms of like the ratings on it, will last a little bit longer because sometimes a more modern server may be a lot more power efficient, especially when you go back a few years. Some of them are really not so power efficient. A few other things I have coming because I want to talk about this as well. So let me see if I can pull this up. This might be a fun discussion. Is Syncthing. How does this? There we go. So let's go ahead and share this tab as said. I am working on a new video for Syncthing. There's kind of a domino effect of videos. So I start all of them at once because I need to do the Syncthing video before I do the LogSeek video. And I might do the Fabric video before the LogSeek, or do I do the LogSeek before the Fabric video? Fabric's an AI tool that I talked about before and did some demonstrations on. And I've got it all tied together. These tools all work in concert with each other for how I do knowledge management and how I synchronize things. So the Syncthing recently, because I wanted to really put this to the test, was one, here is my Syncthing server that runs on my public facing website. And one of the things I want to point out, like for example, it says LTS LogSeek is set up inside of Syncthing here. I don't have a graphic ready at the moment, but when I do the video, I'm going to do like an explainer video within here. That explainer video will be how I have the data transferring between me and Matt, and how me and Matt have unencrypted copies of things, but the website is blind. The website synchronizes the changes between me and Matt for anything we're doing inside of LogSeek, but it has no idea what it's synchronizing. And that's actually where it gets really interesting, being able to do that. And you can see the IP of the website that it's on. This is if you go to launchsystems.com, that is my website. So there's no obscuring needed for that. But that's what makes it so interesting, is that we can have this. And what I'm going to show you now is, let me switch over to another screen. All right, cool. So now what we're going to do is, I think I can share my whole screen. That's going to be the fastest way to get you in the visual here for what's going on, because you know what? We got to do tmux for this as well. So hold on. We're going to tmux this to split the screen and show you the differences here. So give me 1 second, because I like doing this live. And then this is going to be, where did I save this at? Where is my local version of it? Question from Doug. Do you have a video on optimizing or tuning UniFi access points? You know, they're probably older videos, but there's one of my things I've joked around about a lot is I make a lot of money telling people to set things back to default. The defaults work really well for so many situations. And I think that's the part that people have a hard time with. They make this assumption: if there's a knob, I must twist the knob. If there's a button, I must check it. If there's a slider, I must slide it. There's a reason companies come up with defaults. They don't do this randomly. They do this to reduce the amount of problems people have, because if you have problems or a bad experience, that bad experience and problem means tech support. So the defaults actually work really well because engineers at UniFi go, we should make these defaults really good. So you don't necessarily have to do much tuning to get them right. Now, you usually have to decide on your own what your channel width is. And generally for businesses, you're going to go for connectivity over speed. Speed is usually not the issue at all. It's about channel width and lining things up in terms of so they don't overlap with other channels. Those are really important aspects, which have nothing to do in way other than, I mean, you can turn on auto tuning, but making sure that if you are in an office building that has adjacent Wi-Fi, that you're not overlapping on the channels and stepping on each other, and you're not having the Wi-Fi step on each other. Those are the parts that are actually really important. Not so much any of the tuning. The defaults work actually pretty well. Kevin asks, will pfSense support a Chelsea IoT 420 fabric card? I don't know. I usually lean towards the Intel ones, but it probably works with. It's really about BSD support. So look for the BSD support to really get the better answer. Is like, is that card well supported in BSD? And will Netgate improve the custom captive portal? I don't know. What do you? I hate captive portals. I try to avoid them all the time because they're just a headache in general. But I don't know. I guess it depends what problem you're having with captive portal, and I don't know what question you're asking around caching at all. I don't recommend here in 2024, and this goes for any firewall company, to try to use it like with a caching server. In the early days, in my early tech days, for example, when we had a fractional T1 or an ISDN at some of our locations, oh yeah, squid proxy caching, definitely a thing, definitely helpful when you have an office full of people that want to check the weather all the time. It was actually one of the most popular cache pages, or the highest number of hits on the cache was a lot of the weather pages. I worked in the transportation business. I did IT. They cared about the weather a lot because that can make some differences, whether it's snowing, of whether or not things go where they're supposed to go in the trucks, and whether or not the trucks are running in bad weather. So setting up a caching server made a lot of sense. With the way content is dynamically delivered now, trying to cache so everyone hits the same site doesn't work the same way anymore. And it's just not effective. Not to mention Squid is broken. Even the people at Netgate and pfSense are like, yeah, you shouldn't use Squid anymore. No one's maintaining that project with security and integrity anymore. So that one, like, there's a reason we just don't use it anymore. Anyways, so back to what I was doing. Documents, is it called? There we go. So I want to do a comparison here, and let's go ahead and share out the screen. Present, share screen. Yeah, this screen looks good. All right, and now to get rid of that and slide this over, slide that over, and slide this in. Here we go. Should make that. So this is, I switched to root so I can show you this with my, I didn't feel like switching to Syncthing. Anyways, this is what happens when you do LS. And I want to show you, like, you see all these different folders. And if we go into the folders, like 0.syncthing, then we have this. All right. So we have that. So there's some random. Let's go ahead and cat the random. What's more random? Oh, that broke all together. So you can see that it's very, very random there versus, hey, look, we have two folders, one for content and one for strategy. Here is the pages, the journals, everything this way. So me and Matt see this because we're sharing it as completely normal. So Syncthing syncs this folder and the same folder over here. But you can see over here, it's nothing but gibberish. So even though here's all the same folders or same directory, LTS logc, but once it's in there, this is one of the things I want to cover about Syncthing is how you can have these servers in the cloud that are completely blind. So if, this is why I don't mind having it on my server, I can have whatever I want in these notes, but if someone were to do something to my website and cause a problem or get inside my website, they find a vulnerability in it and are able to pivot around through some of the files. That's a concern, but I'm not worried about them having any data. They would just have all this encrypted blob. Without Syncthing's password that me and Matt only have that is stored nowhere on the server, this server is completely blocked. It can synchronize the data between me and Matt, and it does a wonderful job of it. We've been using it for a while for all of our notes, but this is what makes Syncthing so cool, is the fact that it can do this while being completely blind to it. So I don't have any security risk. And this is a use case I want to highlight when I do my review video on Syncthing, is how all this works, how you're able to have complete trust, so to speak, of the devices that are in between a chain that are publicly available. And if you're behind some type of NAT system, no big deal, and still synchronize everything in a secure manner, either with all of your devices personally, or in my case with staff that also is part of the Lawrence systems and or anyone else I want to add to that Syncthing instance. So I have a secure way to share all my data, and it's just kind of beautiful how all this works. Now, that's why I said this is kind of a chain of things, because I want to do a video on LogSeek. I want to do a video on Syncthing, and having all of these combined is what works really well, especially when I start talking about like the Fabric stuff. Bring this back over here. I use Fabric and I deal with all the text. Network Chuck did a good video on Fabric, by the way. He says the title was like, you're using AI wrong. And it's a good video, how the Fabric project works. The multiverse. Yes. I love when it does the whole, I mean, we got to do that one more time. Wee. My wife on my boss pouring says my boss's new house, he wants to expand his Wi-Fi TP link to the pool area, his AP signal to the pool party tree well, with speaker cutting in and out. Can I use a single UniFi AP cloud gateway and make it just work, or do I need the whole UniFi ecosystem for the outdoor to work? We will run PoE to the pool grill area. Well, you do at least need somewhere that you're hosting the UniFi controller, whether the cloud gateways are probably that have the UniFi controller built in are probably a good one, the UniFi Express or one of the other models. Yeah, you do need some gateway to manage it. I mean, you can use a separate gateway and use a cloud key as well. That's an option. You can spin the controller up and load it on your own server. That's an option as well. So there's a couple different ways you can do it with UniFi, as long as it has some, the controller doesn't need to be on all the time, but is recommended. I think there might be still, I know in the past there's ways to set UniFi up to be standalone, but I don't know that I would really recommend that, because it's just a lot more pain to manage. So definitely tie it to a controller. But yeah, you just need one UniFi, as long as you have whatever you're using for your controller. And if he already has a firewall, it's not necessary that you go with that. But if you were to swap out the TP links and go with a fully unified system, it would be a lot easier, because if you want the same SSID throughout the house into the outside, that's actually what I have. Just make your life easy and put a series of UniFi systems in. And I see Allison said the same thing. If he wants seamless roaming, go full UniFi ecosystem. Yeah, that'll definitely solve your problems for sure. And the next question is, did you work with any customer that had an ISP that provided IPTV and internet via fiber? How do you connect to pfSense? I think there's different ways you can do it. There's ways you could probably get the VLAN. I think they usually tag it to a VLAN. We don't really have customers doing this, not in the business world. I've seen some consulting. I don't think there's many, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here. Are there many places in the US that deliver TV this way? It seems to be more a question brought up for people. I think it's in Canada and Europe where you get delivery like that. But nonetheless, there's different ways to handle it. I think the easier way to handle that is bring it into a switch and peel off the VLAN and send it to your IPTV network. So pfSense is out of the mix. You can buy a cheap switch that's managed for really inexpensive here. And it'll that way it's just separate. You know what I mean? It's like here, the main untagged is the IP address coming in, and then peel off a VLAN that goes to the other network that's for the IPTV. There are write-ups on how to get it to go through pfSense, but I think it just becomes more complicated, and I always go for the simpler, easier to manage solution, so you just have less problems and less troubleshooting to do. It's one of those things that just because I know how to do complicated things doesn't mean I look for the complicated way to do things. I'm always looking for the more simplistic way to do things. Makes it a lot easier. Do you know if the UniFi NVR will work with non-UniFi cameras? No, it will not. That is a common question and part of their ecosystem, and I don't see this changing right now, maybe in the future, but right now, the UniFi NVR only works with UniFi cameras. That's just the way it is. And UniFi cameras, even though you could attach them to other devices, they generally are best performing with the UniFi equipment. Just get them both. That's definitely the thing. And as Corey Thompson says, you likely need to configure multiclass correctly, IGMP proxy, or a PIMD, and know what multicast groups are used for the IPTV. Yeah, that's a challenge. I've seen them. I guess it depends on how it gets delivered. So it becomes a little bit more complicated pretty quickly. It's not that it can't be done, and maybe that's the challenge, is to solve that complexity that comes with it. I think we talked about this last week, and I'm hoping more of these coming. We actually have a few videos coming on servers. We have a handful of reviews as we build our new lab. And one of them is going to be here is I'm excited about these, so I'm bringing it up again because I think we only talked about it very briefly. We're building out some of these big twin servers. I can't remember if Jason said we have 18 of them coming in. We have a large order of these coming in for a project. And I'm excited because, I mean, this is 100% not sponsored. This is all passing through the office stuff we're reviewing. Client paid for it. We paid for it. There's nobody biasing me to talk about this hardware in any way I see fit. So I'm excited to do some of the fun reviews and things like that. I'm kind of excited about all the different things. There's all the equipment starting to arriving, including some 100 gig switches and some really fancy stuff that is for a series of big projects that we have. So I'm looking forward to those reviews because there's simply no restrictions. There's no me asking questions to them, because if I do get sent a beta product, to be very fair, I may ask the company questions I have about a product to get it up towards release. Definitely done that when I'm beta testing something. And, I think that's just a fair way to do it. It doesn't give them editorial. I just go, hey, why does it do this thing? And they'll let me know. The nice thing is these are production ready. These are not beta. So it makes it easier on my part. I'm not going to be, well, I take that back. I actually did have to contact Supermicro when we had a problem with the other server that I did. I have a server about cracking passwords, and that's one of the things we did was we talked about the experience of Supermicro of what you have to change in a BIOS. So we did contact them prior to video to make sure we got it fixed, because if not, it would have been a video of this thing no work. So yeah, it's definitely pretty cool to be able to do this. I like the videos I have, like, it's just stuff we're reviewing. It's just stuff I don't, we're familiar with, or specifically the reviews fun because we're setting this up for a client. It's going to be running XTNG. It's going to be a large cluster of things. So it's definitely like, it's like putting all this into practice, a lot of things I talk about, and just showcasing it because too many of the projects we've done where we've done these large scale ones, there's no way for me to showcase it because we did it remotely through the client site. So there's not way for me to easily bring a video of showing the client. This one, because we are building it out at our office, we'll build this out as the video. And I think that makes it a lot more fun for me because I just don't name the network with the client's name when I'm setting it up and doing the video. And then when I'm done videoing, we just rename everything to be the client names on the servers. And, they go from server 01 to, whatever the client's naming scheme is, or if the client's naming scheme is generic enough, I won't have to worry about it showing any of it. Belloc says we have a large project where we need about 90 cameras. Unfortunately, we can't use UniFi. We have a handful of cameras that need to operate in -30 temps. Synology would be my recommend, which I did see. Danielle said, "Yep, what about Synology?" Absolutely. Yes, as someone says, the Wendell experience of having to contact manufacturers all the time. Lucas, have you seen the Netgate 8300? Will you review it? Oh yeah. I have it behind me. It's in the picture for the thumbnail. Hold on. We'll even pull a photo up of it while we're sitting around here. Hang on, let me find a good photo of it. I don't have a good photo. I have some okay photos of it, but we'll share them instead. We'll share the okay photos Tom has of the 8300. So I got a couple photos here. So it's got a lot of fans, got a processor, got some memory in it. It's got an NVMe. It's a nice box. It looks good. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Not right now, but I don't think I will, because it kind of one of those things. Like I haven't done, and someone criticized me for not like dunking on the Netgate stuff. And the only thing to dunk on it about that people like to complain about is the price. Like, I can get it cheaper. No, and it was actually fun. I was talking to Jeff from Craft Computing, and he's selling these devices, and this is on my to-do list to get this set up and tested. These are these new temperature monitoring devices. Go watch Craft Computing, learn all about them. I will do a review of it as well. And they're, no matter what you sell these for, unless you actually give them for free to people, put them in their pocket and pay the shipping, they will complain about how much they cost. It's just, I laugh with Jeff because he takes it with stride. It costs too much, people, because that seems to be a common phrase on YouTube. No matter what you review, there's always I could get it cheaper, people. And so I don't address that part of it because its price is much more subjective. I talk about the product itself. You have to decide, because also price is a fluctuating thing. What I say it costs in a video may not be what it costs when you are watching the video. You're watching a video always sometime in the future from when that video was produced and when that price was set. And with minimal exception, the price generally trends downward, and maybe it's a better value a year later after I published a video. I say rarely, because there was an era in 2020 where if you said the price, people would be reminiscing on the prices you may be talking about in the early 2019 into 2020. And then later 2021, you're like, whoa, electronics cost suddenly much more. Allison says the only reason I have not bought a craft sensor is the shipping cost from the US is crazy. Yeah, it's that's the thing. Shipping costs are what they are. Oh wait, I'm going to complain to Jeff. I just realized it's not USB-C. So I'll complain to Jeff about that online and make comments on his videos, because that'd be funny. Matthias says I would get a Netgate device 100% if they were cheaper, but I also understand why they're priced as they are. Yeah, it's one of those things where the cheap companies out there making stuff that don't really have BIOS updates or back their products or have the same level of testing, they're always going to be cheaper. And that's kind of a fun back and forth debate. Do I buy a pair of cheap stuff with redundancy because it's so cheap and I can just suffer a failure at that point? Or do I buy a singular higher quality device that's less likely to have a failure? There's different ways of looking at it. So as Pete says, a lot of people want to point fingers and complain about something. That is the life of being on YouTube, and I always am amused by it. I take it all in stride, if you will. I'm not that worried about the YouTube complaints. Matter of fact, as a group of creators that we are, that many of us behind the scenes, and I've talked a little bit about this, me, Jeff from Craft Computing, Jay from Learn Linux TV, Jeff Geerling, we all collaborate together all the time. We have a lot of ideas. We all are in kind of the similar space, and we certainly have our laughs occasionally about all the weird comments we get, because we also realize there's what we can kind of refer to as the repeat offenders. It's like, hey, look, a certain person that seems to have commented on each of our channels with the same dumb comment. Shocking. Being in a similar content space and covering similar things means you seem to get a similar audience. And there's always that one person, they just like to share their unwelcome opinion on something. It's like no one really has. I mean, I like engaging comments about what the video topic is. There are certainly comments that have nothing to do with the video topic that get shared by people. Kevin asks, if thinking about using a shell depth 1U microserver for pfSense, what motherboard and what should the motherboard support be for pfSense? pfSense supports if you look at what it's based on, most of them are going to be based on Intel chips. Works great. Combine that with Intel network cards, you have a winner. There's not much problem with I've loaded pfSense and all kinds of things, but Intel is kind of the go-to because of many of the boards having the Intel chips built in. If they have the Intel chips built in, you're going to find frequently an Intel processor. Just stay away from Realtek and you'll be a lot happier. Ellison says later versions will have USB-C or PoE options. The beta version have micro because it's currently based on the Pi dev board, and that's what he has. Yeah, I know. I do know he built it on a Pi dev board. So, but yeah, that's good clarification for the audience. I knew about these before it was released. Jeff sent me this. I just didn't have time because I was traveling to do the video. I've had this for a little while. Division asks, hey, Tom, what is the best way to back up Synology photos offline? I would probably need a better definition of offline. Easy answer, buy a second Synology, copy to it, and unplug it and put it in a safe. Better answer, have an offsite backup somewhere at a friend's where you can synchronize your Synology data. I've also talked about using MinIO and S3 with TrueNAS, and that's how I back up my Synology. I have, because I have multiple buildings and access to them, that's my solution. I thought about making a video covering different ways you can do backups with your friends, where you agree with your friend that you could do a data exchange. One of the problems is there's some level of access that friend may have. There's a lot of mitigations you have to put in there if you wanted to go both ways to do it. But figuring out somewhere, maybe a family member's house that you have to do tech support for, and you're like, hey, I will do tech support because I have an interest in your internet always being working. How about we put this little box in the closet over here, the mystery box of where my backups go, so you have an offsite location. There's not really any one size fits all answer, but if you're looking for somewhere that isn't a recurring cloud fee to back it up to, those solutions work well. Someone else's location, second location you have, keep one that you turn on and turn off, and just turn it on when you do the backups. Seeding is the answer, as this question kind of implies, is how to offsite backup multiple terabytes of data when you only have limited bandwidth and a 25 meg upload speed. The answer is seeding. Get a system. Let's use TrueNAS as an example because I've done it with this, but I believe this would apply to Synology equally. You have that device that you're going to back it up to, and you seed it by having it in the same network. Get them synchronized, ship it to its new location, point at new IP address. That works well. I've done that myself. Even though I have multiple buildings and whatnot, when I build a new server, I'll bring it here to synchronize all my YouTube videos, because I was like, I want to redo all this. And I redid the structure of all my data. I'm like, this will take a really long time to synchronize this, parsing out of everything, putting it in new data sets, all the things I changed. So I didn't even want to try and sync it. So I brought the TrueNAS that it was targeted at here, and did the synchronization, and then drove it back to its location. Life is good. My data run rate, the amount of data I create in a day, never takes the longest. Is sometimes if I do a big video series, if I were to record all of it in one day, it may take 3 or 4 hours of synchronization, maybe a little bit longer, depends on how many just how much data it is. But yeah, that's kind of the solution I have for it. It's the easiest one I got. I'm paranoid. I always keep 2 local copies in the cloud one. I do that as well. I think everyone wants to do that. The challenge with people doing that is always, how much space do you have? It's not that people don't want 4 copies of their data. They're always trying to figure out, do they have the space for 4 copies of their data? That's always the question. Right now, I just finished this. I'm not going to set this part of it up right now. This is a NAS that's going over to Matt here at Lawrence Systems, and it has storage. There we go. Yeah, 12 terabytes of data. It's just an extra one because I need to make sure he's got redundant copies of data. So I'm shipping them. It's just a mere 12 terabytes and a little Synology, but it's just to have more data on there. So Matt does a lot of stuff, and maybe that can't be synced right away. So we'll sync it here, and eventually maybe I'll set it up so Matt has extra things that he may need to back up and synchronize to here as well. I have a lot of storage at our office, and we have a lot more on the way. So that's one nice thing. We actually have a colo with storage. We have that we manage. We have our office in Toledo that has storage, and we have our office in Southgate that has storage. So we have geographically, I am very close to my office in Southgate, so I'm not much for geographical redundancy in terms of my data. So I got to eventually maybe ship it to Toledo. So I'm in Detroit. As B. Hellman says, the old sneaker net method. Yes, sneaker net method is very well. And Allison says, I backed up my TrueNAS scale to a remote server over 30 megabits, 6 terabytes, took 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely going to be where the challenges are, is it could definitely take too long. Actually, who messaged me here? I got a new message from someone. Oh, there we go. The one asks, hello, sir. Which OEM will be the first one to offer dedicated BMC Ethernet that to support 2.5 gig? I don't have any idea why you would want that. It's such a low bandwidth thing that I don't know who's going to bother with the extra costs associated with it. I myself don't have a demand for it, so it's not. I don't think it's, I see Allison's reply. Why would you want BMC that's over a gigabit? Yeah, really not that big of a deal. And Mike points out, with cloud backups, you've got to be careful with the egress charges that get data back. It's part of the planning you need is, what does it cost? I see. Hold on. All right, cool. Let's make sure my Matt was messaging me. I was making sure it was about the live stream. He's corrected what he just sent me. It was other people commenting that as I should not have commented on this being the USB-C, because yes, it's a Raspberry Pi in Jeff's device. So absolutely right. I don't mind being called out and being told something I already knew, which was just built on a Raspberry Pi dev board. But yeah, egress charges are a big thing. I am going to wind this down in a few minutes because I'm moving it over to Discord. So that's why I've left the Discord thing pulled up here for people. Let's see. Did we get new people joining the Discord? Oh, look at that. A lot of people joined the Discord today because I'm going to there is a channel in my Discord that says Vlog Thursday. I think it may take me a couple minutes. I'm going to figure it out. I think I have to click the start stage button. I've actually never gone live in Discord. So if you want to watch Tom ride the struggle bus of how to figure this out, it'll be kind of interesting. So your goal for a BMC with faster gigabit would be improved performance of virtual CD, DVD, USB connected IKVMs. It's just not something that gets requested. And I think the reason why is most of us just stick a USB in there and call it great. So And if you're remote, your challenges aren't 2.5 gig. When you're remote to these things, your challenges are the bandwidth of the thing you have and getting it across the internet to the data center that it's located in. So the bottleneck isn't the 1 gig pipe that's local. It's the pipe between I need to get this connected to this BMC and I'm remote. I don't know. I don't think I would say it's going to be a very long time before you see someone who does that. I could be wrong. Maybe there's a bigger demand and I just don't run into it very often. We also don't reload servers a whole lot. Honestly, I would say even hard drives, which are still your highest failure rate anymore, it's not often you get a lot of other things that fail, but even with that failure rate, not seeing a lot of uh, servers that we're constantly reloading. And we have, we have a lot of good stats because of how many clients we have at CNWR, the large number of computers and endpoints we do. So yeah. And I absolutely agree with this right here. BMC is more likely to go for 10 than 2.5. 10 has been around for years and has gotten substantially cheaper. So you finding a 10 gig on one of them probably would happen before 2.5 gig. I have a Dream router with a few VLANs and Wi-Fi. The speed from PC to NAS exceeds 20 meg by wire. Direct connection gives 160. PC to NAS does not exceed. But is it routing through that VLAN? So you shouldn't. I've have a whole video on storage design talking about the challenges that come with routing storage. That may be what you're finding, but I don't know. If you're routing it, that's a whole different issue. All right, cool. All right, winding this down. I'm just getting ready. I see a few messages came in over our Discord, so it's awesome. We're going to welcome some people there. Get ready for my Vlog Thursday thing. What else? Last few questions here. How do you enable internet access outside home assistant for locations so the phone gives real-time location HA only on specific phones? How can you port forward pfSense only HA and phone? Use a VPN. I mean, if your phone is wandering around, you don't know what IP address it's coming from. That being said, you'd probably want to use a VPN on your phone to access Home Assistant. So if you set up a VPN on your phone, you connect to your pfSense at home, and voila, now you have the ability to connect to there and do it. The downside is the VPN will have, being able to get that information means you're going to draw more battery from your phone. You're going to have a connected VPN. You're going to have Home Assistant updating data. So that's the trade-offs of it. And the next question is networking business better than last year? I'm curious if people are holding back to spend 2 years to into rate increases. We're seeing a lot of activity. Our projects are pretty crazy right now. We have sold, if I remember the numbers correctly, something like 2,000 hours of project hours, maybe more, because there's a lot of deals closing right now. So there's a lot going on that is for us, but I don't know what the industry is really doing. It seems like a lot of our clients, maybe it's just the nature of the clients I attract, are doing really well and have a lot of things going on. So I guess it probably depends on any specific industry. I use Tailscale to connect to my home and assist for Home Assistant Jellyfin, Allison says. And yes, same thing for me. I really like Tailscale because I've been using it so long. I did a review on NetBird. I think NetBird's great. It's just one of those compelling feature problems. Like they don't have enough compelling features yet to make me switch. Like I should switch because I love being self-hosted, but it's like I don't know. It's like I'm going to do it, but then I ended up not doing it. Laziness, because the problem that works good enough or even really good is hard to switch from. I haven't had any problems with Tailscale, so. But then you need to be connected to the VPN, and it can be split tunnel, and people will not use VPN always for outside. What is an alternative to that HA question? I don't understand your question. I mean, you can't filter for an IP address that you don't know what it is. So if you want your phone connected, you use VPN. If you want the other option, you can use Home Assistant offers a relaying service, and they create a unique URL for you. That is another option as well. So you can use the Home Assistant relaying service, which won't require a VPN and doesn't require port forwarding because it will reach out and relay off the Home Assistant server. So completely an option if you're interested. But yeah. Oh, I think all of us have the product I use works, so I change issue. Happens all the time. It's a real challenge because time is finite. And how much time do I put into solving a problem I don't have just because I want to use different software? The seamlessness of Tailscale inside of pfSense is beautiful. I have been using it for a year without even a minor hiccup. It just works. It's one of those, if it broke and I had to fix it, I would be like, hey, now's the time while I'm fixing this to possibly replace it. But when it's not broke, it's hard to find a reason to break it. So Tailscale has done such a great job. But then again, there could be a day where Tailscale stops being good, or Tailscale gets bought by some company that just says there's no such thing as a free lunch anymore. And that's what keeps me out. I mean, if Tailscale charged me, I would switch to another server like NetBird, but Tailscale doesn't charge me. So it's hard for me. Once again, they're keeping the switching costs low. And by the way, we sold Tailscale commercially. We've suggested this as a commercial solution for clients that pay and buy the service. So their strategy of giving it away for free works. Of course, by the way, NetBird has a strategy to give things away as well too. So yes. Oh, fun stuff. But I will stop that here so I can figure out, I'm looking at the screen I have pulled up. So I'm going to figure out the live stream within the next, I bet I can be live within a few minutes. I think I know what button I got to press. So I got to flip some switches because I'm actually going to use a different camera. I'm doing it from my studio computer so I can feed it with OBS. So join me over on the Discord if you're interested in live stream number 2. I have no idea how long it'll last. I don't know how long it'll take me to click the button and probably say yes to a handful of things. Come struggle with me of figuring out how Discord live streams work. And if it works well, this will be a regular thing where I do a live stream here and then a live stream over in Discord. So, all right, and thanks.